So welcome back to Notes from the Sanctuary. I'm Veronique,
And I'm Paola.
and we're learning to live a better, gentler life, and we want you to come along for the ride.
So today is a special episode. We have a couple of guests with us today. So welcome. We have Joel and Blair. Yeah. So I met Blair through a friend,
Yeah.
through Plant, and before you know it, we're here.
Well, thanks for inviting us.
Yeah,
It
thank
was
you.
it was like an honor and a privilege, especially under the context of what you wanted us to come talk about.
To get us started, how are you feeling today? Like, how does your body feel today?
I feel actually really good in my space. I had some very weird dreams and sleep, so I was a little bit wondering where I was going to be centered today when we had this set up for this evening. I had a really great, just smooth day, and it's nice to be here. I feel good.
Yeah. Well, I was actually a bit tired today because I actually wasn't the greatest sleep, which is rare for me
He
because
sleeps good.
I'm like a light, whatever. But I got up in the middle of the night and I just kind of couldn't get back to bed. Maybe I was really excited about today or something. I don't know, but no. But other than that, I made it through the day and more relaxed now. I'm feeling pretty good. But it's abnormal for me to be a little tired and drag my butt.
He's
But
a really great sleeper. I'm the one who's always like, this was my night. He wakes up in the morning, how was your night? So it tends to be a little more
Nice.
like, like, he's more smooth sailing. I'm more like, okay, this is the day. So we both had kind of a funny sleep.
but
But
That's all. And you? How are you feeling today?
I feel super stable. Like, I feel like
Yeah.
just
Yeah, no, same. We were talking about it earlier,
Yeah.
that I'm having like a good
the air.
everything feels grounded.
Yeah.
And I get the spring.
I know we're all happy.
Yeah, so we'll just dig into the conversation part. So as usual, we'll bring in whatever we can. And
Yeah, it's like sometimes we like try to bring in like because Paula and I have a very different generation. So sometimes we try to bring that in when it fits into the conversation, but we never force anything. So it doesn't.
so, first question here. We often hear people say they're working on their relationship. So that's always like, we're working on it. But it can mean so many different things, and it can be like triggering or not for others. So for you two, what does it mean personally and practically from day to day?
I think the term working on it, not to like even sidetrack it, it's like more maintaining what we have. Like the work is maintenance work, we call it. Because I think what you were saying is when people say they're working on their relationship, it's like
They're
there was
troubleshooting.
some things. I think when we do our times alone, we go away, we spend time, we make sure, in the day that we're communicating we're maintaining our relationship, and that can be, said to be the work that you're doing.
Like kids and work and how busy life is. Like I think that.
It means we're always
But again,
communicating.
we're in a place of privilege where we're not white knuckling anything. So I do feel, in a like a so I wouldn't use the word like we put in work, but like the work is pleasurable,
Yeah, but it's still like you have to like have the intention of doing
Yes,
Yeah.
and we always do
it.
that.
It's so easy to just kind of let it drop, right?
You always
Like,
have to put yourself a relationship first in our life when we map out a week, we'll look at what we're doing and we'll realize, hey, this week's kind of busy. We're gonna have to find a pocket of time to whatever that means, like make sure we have our evening together, make sure we can eat gym time, or make sure
That the
that even
meals
outside
work
of that,
being
that there
busy.
is an element of for just the two of us, and we try to plan that out. Yeah, something that we do that
Gotta have
because
fun.
it's
Yes.
some stuff to look forward to, but always knowing like you don't want a week to catch up on you, and you get to Thursday or Friday, and you're like, what happened? Like,
So
where are
maybe
we?
our Sunday is like
That is,
how
we
do
do,
our work.
yeah.
Like on Sunday we sit and it's kind of like our nothing day because I'm so busy with my job and we gym every like in the evenings and or appointments. So like from the time the alarm goes until it's time to go to bed, we are so busy. But on Sunday, I call it my potato day and I refuse to do pretty much anything. I'm just like, no, I do my self-care shower. We organize, we sit though, and I have a clipboard and I write out like our meal plan and our week, which is even more important than the meal plan. The meal plan fits into the week. So like I said, so like we know which days of the week are going to be like, okay, that night I have a dentist appointment and we have the gym, so we know we're not going to get home till this time. But where do we have this time to put aside together? Although we do those things together, like after work time, we do. But busy is busy. Like it doesn't matter if you're doing that stuff together. So it is. I think Sunday is like probably where we do that, like set the intentional space. But also, like really because our house is busy, we leave often. So we make a lot of time, and I would say like if we weren't making that time, there it could be challenging and like feeling overwhelmed. But again, we don't have that space. Like I hate the word lucky because
Our kids
we
are
work
old.
too. Yeah, we didn't have that space where we went through raising kids together and the chaos. So no, we don't really have that like, oh, we need to work on this thing. But like with making one another the priority is
I do like at one point, I think, Joel, you said something like, go and then you come back. And sometimes, that individual space you do need, but the key is coming back and working together, right? Because if you have too much separation, then it causes issues. And I see that a lot where people are like, well, I need space. But
yeah, we don't really have that.
That's a weird one.
That's not our
set that boundary.
We don't really. Yeah. We kind of really, again, like not to sound codependent or anything, but I really like doing stuff with him, and he's my buddy, he's my bestie, so I like doing fun stuff with him. So, and he's like, he's coming to do anything I want to do, and he's always supportive in that space. He's great with my friends. He's kind all the time, and he's like really like. So we like to do things together. His things too, like so we plan things.
It is like it's not applicable to everyone else to say that. I get it if some people think they need to go do their man sports on one night a week, or they go to a book club or some not to gender
Nothing
role
wrong
stuff.
with any of that.
But when people talk like that, I don't personally get the vibe. I'm like a night away from your wife, like or my friend. Like I'm like. When we got together, I played softball, and sometimes I was like 2 nights a week. And pretty quickly, I was like, I used to love going to it, hanging out with the guys. You're like, this is fun. I'm out for the whole night. And then after like halfway through, I'm like, I'm missing my wife.
I did
I'm
not guilt him.
I know.
So I went out with my girlfriends that night.
Like, oh, okay.
I'm like, okay, I guess we're gonna go get a bottle of wine and some truffle fries. Like, and then he'd pick me up and be like, "That wasn't fun. I missed you." And so he dropped. I'm like, I'm not asking you to leave your sports, but he's like, it's just not as fun. He just kind of wanted to hang out with me. So yeah.
that's nice. It doesn't sound like
If it-
codependent at all.
No,
It
and
sounds
if it works,
enjoyable.
Like if someone needed
Yeah.
space or time, I think they should be able to
And
have
I think the way you guys communicate and do things, if for some reason, like a day has been overwhelming, and for some reason on that specific day you need space, I think there wouldn't be a problem with it. Like you would be just like, oh, okay, cool. I mean, you might be a little bit freaked out.
She's like, no.
If he came to me and said that, yeah, I would be concerned. Like, what's happening? He's also really even keel.
Yeah.
Joel's really even keel, where I feel better these days, but like I'm 47, so there were a couple spicy years there where like, I was balancing my hormones and, that kind of thing where it was harder for me to understand me, so I never really wanted him to go away, but sometimes I just stopped speaking. I would just be like, real. And he's like, what can I do? And I'm all like, you need to stop asking what you can do because I just need to be silent, and that would concern him because of course he wants to support me and whatever. So never like in a way, like, why are you being like, never like that, but more just like concerned.
Are you okay?
But sometimes, when you're really like,
I can read that better now these days.
but it also
I
happens
can.
less these
It does,
days.
yeah.
Like I'm more balanced, and so, there was a little bit where you don't know what it is. I couldn't articulate what I was feeling,
Yeah,
but
but
it was
one
like everything was scratchy.
One thing we've talked a lot about or learned about in this podcast is co-regulation.
Yes.
And how sometimes just being in the same room and not talking to someone will still help you regulate.
Well, sometimes I'd be like, you're breathing. Maybe me angry.
Leave this room now.
Enough. It's hard. I have to think back because it's been a few years, I think, since I felt that way. Although we had something not that long ago when I changed my hours, I was really overwhelmed at the end of the night trying to get out the door to the gym. And it's like, because I try to get dinner on the table and I've got 6 kids to get out the door, it's very busy that hour. So shortening my hours just made more work in that hour from when they get up to when they leave. And I like, dinner wasn't ready. I was behind on everything. And he's kind of like, oh, you're ready to go? And I'm all like, are you crazy? Like, look around me. But I couldn't say that. I was just like, you go.
I'm here.
Go tonight. I'm going to stay home. And he was like, well, no, like, what can I do? Let me make dinner. Let me do. And then he went and started to make dinner. And I was so mad he was making dinner. I'm like, they're like, you told your partner there was a problem. And
he did
he
it.
walked into the kitchen, asked you no question, and started making dinner. And you were like, how dare you?
And yet I understand.
I ate the dinner. And so we went to the gym, and I was so mad the whole time I was at the gym. I thought, okay, once I start my lifting, I'm just going to leave my body.
Gonna feel
It
better.
did not leave my body. I was cranky the whole time. My lips looked, don't make dinner. I know. And I'm like, this is the worst food ever. It was delicious.
But that led to
I had to take some time. I had to be like, why was I so angry? Like, what happened? Because also, again, it's been years. And then it took me about 24 hours. Poor guy. I messaged him. I'm like, okay, this is what's happening. I'm like, we've shifted the whole day to make more evening for us and, make it so we can get home and like have an evening and like go to bed at a decent time. We prioritize sleep, But what's happened is I have compressed my whole end of the day into 1 hour instead of 2 hours. And I'm trying to do 2 hours worth of work in 1 hour. It's not working. It's broken. And I was like, on days that we need to leave the house, I would like if you were able to come and support without me asking or whatever. Just he did make dinner that day, but that wasn't the plan. The plan was
That's what bothered you.
He said you're absolutely right. We lost an hour of your day. We didn't account for it. He's like, I'm done my day at 4. Hard stop on days we need to leave. I will be in the kitchen. You just tell me what to do. And the follow through with this guy is crazy. So every single day, we sit down, we write that, we plan meals that are feasible for us to make, leave, and get out the door that also taste good when we warm them up when we get home.
Yeah.
So I have to reflect and be like, why did that feel so bad? What's happening in my life? Because I'm happy, I'm supported. Again, the man made dinner, and then I was just like, I couldn't come out of that. And then I realized that was broken.
You took it as in like subconsciously as almost like criticism.
At that point, I was just I was sweaty. I was like so overstimulated that I just wanted it to end. I wanted the day to be done and for him to go, and then I put my headphones on and just make dinner. It was too far gone. And so, that night I probably should have stuck with my guns and said either you can stay home with me or just go. Like the gym is waiting for me. We go all the time. But I didn't, I thought, oh, I'll feel better. And he made dinner, so let's go. But then the important work came after where I was like, what was that? And I had to really it took me a while to have this internal dialogue to be like, what was it? Why was I so triggered? Because really, everyone's like, well, I would have just been grateful if he went and made dinner. I'm like, but that wasn't it.
Sarah,
At that point, it's too far. Yeah. So what happened
unregulated.
before? What happened before and how can we fix that? And he said, you know what, you're right. Hard stop, 4 o'clock. I'm in the kitchen. And so we've been able to collaborate that way. And the other nights, the nights that we aren't going or we have something else, unless there's an appointment, we usually just say after work, let's know each other. So, but that was probably the only one in the past few years where I've been kind of what is happening in my body? But time management is really tricky, and my job is really high stress. And his job is high stress too, but in a different way. He's sitting in a chair answering the phone. I've got 6 toddlers.
There's a bit more to it than
Really stressful.
I don't
I have to use my brain.
It's very stressful.
Well, that sounds interesting.
No, so it does. It's physically overwhelming at the end of the day. And so then being able to pause and articulate.
And I think communicating that is key.
Yeah.
You took the time.
Yes.
You took the space, communicated that with him clearly, and then he followed
And
through.
he was
Did
He
it.
does.
And being able to take the constructive.
Criticism in a positive way and work on it and do it. That's amazing.
No, he's always been really good that way. And I think that was something that we used to say, well, we'll have all our conversations in person. That was really important. But actually, it's really effective for me to write. So it's more effective for me to write. Because if I'm overstimulated, I can be a little bitchy, Yeah, where you're just it's a little sharp, and Joel's very he's soft. So not in that way, but he's very kind. It feels a bit negative. So it's easier for me to write it and review it and be like, what is my message? What am I asking for?
I mean, to meet that. And you're also figuring it yourself out.
Well, and it's like a form of journaling.
So it's a form of journaling, really.
Yeah, it's
more
helpful
immediate.
for me to read it. And I think that again, like I hate the word lucky, but like I know that I'm in a position where what I write and if I put my needs there, that they will be answered. And not like, oh, okay, you're annoying, or like, oh, okay, for a week. But we had like one conversation about a laundry basket, and he cannot walk past a laundry basket now. So like, one of those things that I think people they do it because they're on high alert, and then it dissipates over time, right? And
I'm bad that
I'm
way.
like AI.
he
I
does
can
not do
learn.
that. He's just like a laundry basket. And if he like maybe forgets, he'll be like, "Oh my gosh, the laundry," and I'm like, "It's okay. It's like only 9:30." He's like, "Oh, I'm going to get it."
I'll be right back.
Yeah.
So let's circle back here on the topic.
So, is there a moment you can point to where you realized it was worth, like, working on? Like, nothing, like, not necessarily like a dramatic turning point or anything, just like a moment where it kind of clicked. Like,
I don't know about a moment. I think being in a second marriage, you have that. Well, not everything is going to be. It's different. You're not going to have the same issues and everything, but you kind of have a little more like, I want to make this work, and the core, the foundation is here. So I don't know. I feel there's a little bit more like I've got to work on things. You've got to be willing to, take constructive criticism and not make it about how it was delivered or whatnot. You've got to listen to the words and hear what's coming, and you just really want to make things work because the foundation is so good, and you're like, but things are going to come up that you're going to have to deal with. And yeah, to me, that was like, there wasn't that moment, but it was going into the relationship with Blair was like, this is the perfect woman I want to be with forever. So you realize you got to do what needs to be done in that moment. You can't let things build up. You've got to address issues as they come up. And so I think I had that kind of mindset going into the relationship with you that was, for me, it was
it's
like,
just awesome that it stuck. Like,
Yeah.
Years later, it's still going.
Well, and it does. You
Yeah.
see things fade through time
yeah,
because they
do
allow
like,
it.
I'll
Yeah.
say I'm going to work on something, and I will. I'll give my all, but eventually,
Sometimes things I think can feel like it's boring to do work, but like for us, like when we do something, when we give something, if we do a workshop, when we spend time together, when we have a new hobby, like you get so much more from it than you put in.
Oh, for sure.
And so that's just kind of a thing that we've always wanted to explore.
what about you? Was there a
a
moment that you
Like, let's go.
When I really wanted to work on things,
I'm not working, but
like that's kind of was the question. Like when did you know
like
that
when
it
did you know that
This was
like
a
it was
thing.
worth?
like it was worth the effort right from the beginning.
Yeah.
Like we like had our first date and I kissed him and I was finished. And I'm not being cheesy. It really was like one of those like suck the air out of the room moments where I was like, what was that? And then I was like, that was great. And then I had a lot of skepticism. So like I really did protect myself in the beginning. I did where I was all like, we're gonna move forward, but like on my terms and in my space, I know I'm safe. But it didn't take very long before I was like, well, I guess I'm just safe. So
Just
okay.
like
And
hit those walls so
and then
fast.
what did happen pretty early though is that I realized that I had a lot of trauma, and if I was going to come into this relationship and be there and it was going to be okay, because I had a lot of meltdowns in the beginning, a lot of like, I'm not safe. So we actually did couples therapy together, and that was a big step. Actually, this is after we got engaged, because he asked me to marry him, and I was like, oh my gosh, yes. And then I was like in panic mode. And I was like, oh my gosh, why am I freaking out? I should be so excited. And then I was like, it actually was Joel. It's like, we should really talk to someone. And it turned into like resentment therapy and trauma therapy. And we didn't have very many sessions. And like, I think he's like 6 or 8
I
times.
think it was 8.
8 times. And then he was just like, so I'm done with you guys. Just go be happy and enjoy your husband. He's lovely. I was like, okay, so those words just stuck with me. It's like for someone to analyze from the outside, and he was like an older guy and like really fun and like very father figurely, and for him to be like, he's real good. Like I work with a lot of men. Like just go be happy. Then I felt so much safer. It's like a bit of an illusion, I guess, because like this guy doesn't like. Then it was like this weight lifted. Like someone did a review, and we
Everything
passed.
is okay.
Yes, yeah.
We'll be fine.
Yeah,
Everything's
like there was
fine.
nothing there. Like, you know, and they dig, and there was just nothing there.
Yeah.
He's like, you need to just go be happy. But the resentment therapy was very helpful for me. Yeah.
So since then, when you describe your relationship and you say, this relationship makes me happy, what does that feel like? Is that a feeling that you notice either the happiness or saying that it makes you happy? Is there, like, sometimes you feel it in your gut, sometimes it's in your chest, other people feel it in their fingers. Like, do you have a trigger in your body for something like happiness?
It is just my entire body. It's like I'm happy like when I get up to go pee in the middle of the night and I come back and he's like laying there, I'm happy. But for me it's like the first time in my life from like I love my parents very much, but there was some tumultuousness when I was little. But it's the first time in my life where like I feel completely safe. Like my nervous system is like, you're a good girl. And it's the first time in my, and even at the beginning of our relationship, I was like, you're not doing anything wrong, but I never feel safe. But that
You
wasn't
were
him.
activated.
Yeah. And like, I would just be like, I don't know that I'm ever safe. And now I can legitimately say that I continuously feel safe.
Well, this is actually
Like-
perfect for the next question.
Well,
Because I'm curious about the difference between feeling happy in a relationship and feeling safe. Are they the same thing for you, or are they different?
For me, well, no, I was really happy in the beginning. I was
Yeah.
so happy. Like we had so much fun.
new relationship energy.
But it was fun. He was good, and we traveled and we explored things, and we had so many of the same things. And physically, we were a great match. I was super happy, but being happy doesn't always equate to your safety. You know, like you can be really happy doing dangerous things, and you can also feel very, very safe in a relationship, and it can be very safe and comfortable, and you cannot necessarily be happy.
I've been there.
Yeah,
I
and
think
so,
for me they mean sort of this. They mean the same thing because like one leads to the other, leads to it's like an infinity loop of happy and safe, and like going back to like being happy is just in everything. It's so much fun to be with Blair, so that makes you happy. You're just excited for the coffee in the morning. You're excited to meditate at night together. You're excited to do everything in between. I'm excited when I work at home and I get to come down and see her at lunchtime. Those like are the little things that there's no like I gotta like I don't want to bump into her or talk to her. There's no like there's little things you're like you're just very happy with that, and that equates to like, man, I feel really safe in my relationship. Not to be like I could screw up really big and she's still gonna love
I
me.
would recommend it.
That's not what I mean.
resentment therapy didn't do that much work.
That's not what safe means. I think maybe sometimes people can say, "Oh, you feel safe." Does that mean like you have like a real long leash or something like that? And that's not what it means. It means like you have a partner who you know is always going to be there for you. Not you like you have a million chances, but it's like they're there for you. Or it could be like, "Hey, there's this I've been wanting to." It can be something more intimate that you want to bring to you, and you're not afraid to do it because the partner is going to listen to you and be like, okay, I hear what you're saying. Didn't see that coming, but I appreciate you bringing it up, and like, how do we make that work? Like, and I think just knowing that either one of us could do that, could say something to the other.
But that comes with also like being just naturally compatible. Where like sometimes I think people are like, to have my needs met, I have to go up there, or he has to come here. Bless the couples that do a lot of compromising to make things work, but I don't want to be in a relationship where I'm compromising. And so I feel like, compatibility is really important. And Joel and I just really had a lot of the same interests. We have the same sort of style of like touch and what we need. Like if I'm like really needy and I need my hand held all the time, I need a lot of physical reassurance, and that person's like, I don't love that. Someone's compromising. Where when you have similar physical styles or similar this or that, just kind of like what you were saying earlier about like if you need space, or do you have your own things, your own autonomy in your relationship, where like we're a little needier in our relationship, but it works for us, right? So I think that if I'm really needy and my partner's just dying to go play poker,
Not gonna work.
it doesn't work long term. It really does. And someone can compromise now, but compromise gets old, and so being compatible, as cheesy as that sounds, really is like the foundation. And so we don't have a lot of those spaces where we're having to do that. Where like if I'm like I really want to go stay on a lavender farm, he's like, girl, me too. You know.
But even on the little things like what show to watch on TV or something, you can hear couples and be like, "Oh my god, we had to watch one of his movies last night," and like you really
Or she
hated
goes
it,
to bed.
or it doesn't do that, and so
Yeah.
like, that's fine for everyone. Can work for them, but sometimes that's just like that can compound itself into something worse.
that.
You know?
Thanks. Yeah, because like Blair is really good at actually. I feel like you guys have like really figured out that being like as close as possible without picking each other's personalities, and that's kind of like mind blowing because like couples that you normally see that are super close, they kind of just become like the same person.
Oh,
I don't feel like
Well, we have a few things we picked up. Like I say the words that you
Joke around.
those are a couple.
Really different as
We
people.
feel comfortable to be
So
myself.
I don't think we really ever, you know, like I know what you're talking about. Where all of a sudden there's the matching sweaters. Although he loves when our clothes match. But his pink stripy sweater
where's your
was.
pink, Joel?
Well, I didn't want her to get lost in whatever background there was, so I suggested.
I mean, like I'm always off doing the next thing I want to do, and he's really supportive. But if there's anything he wants to do, I'm always everybody's cheerleader. Like if someone, I'm just like, that is the best thing. So, but like you know, I'm pretty creative. I'm always into this. I'm fixing a this. I have a project. I got to paint this. I got to put a shelf up. So
It goes back to what
I
you
don't
were
wanna
saying
push it
about
to someone else.
compromising is neither one of us is doing that. So like you said, there can be, and couples can have where one person maybe feels I've got to make myself more into them so that they're always like me, then they all of a sudden get it. They're like
like
someone's
that. We know
someone's
them.
hiking that never hiked before, and then they like a sports team they never ever said.
like it's more that we support one another in what we want to do as opposed to it like needing to be our thing. Although it was something that I read about it called shared obsession. So I think Joel would lean more into shared obsessions with me than I would lean in with him. So
I'm a
like,
Libra, that's why.
Yeah.
Like I just
so like
want to make you happy.
I'm supportive. Like Joel's really into football, so on Sundays I hang out with him. But sometimes I'll go do my plant chores. I talk with my girlfriends. I'm a football girl. I've always
that's
watched
never
football.
happened to me.
I've always watched football. I understand the game, so it's not boring for me. But like I don't follow it the way he does. You know, when he listens to the football podcasts, and I, you know, sometimes I catch a good joke. It's funny, but it doesn't bother me, but I don't need that for myself. But we'll share time then. You know, like we'll have dinner together, and like you know, usually I kind of like chit chat on my phone or go do my stuff. So that's like not a shared obsession where I will, if I get into something, then he would be more like to do a, although we did the we went
Compromise.
we went to the
Fine.
States years ago. Well, it was like exciting, but we got tickets to go see like his favorite team play and also like that concert. But I
That
was,
was a big you did it
I
just
did
for that was a
to go.
compliment.
We went to see Blink 182.
Okay.
And that is not my jam. But of course, like if he's going, he wants me to be there. He doesn't want just tickets to go with like someone. He would want me to go share
And it
that
was Mother's
experience.
Day weekend. So
It was a shared experience, but that was not a shared obsession. Do you know what I mean? Where I think sometimes
You did it
couples
for
do
him.
shared obsessions where like, you know, the girl gets a boyfriend, he's a punk rock guy, and she's all of a sudden punk rock girl. That's not me. I'm always going to be Blair.
I'm interested in the plants, but if you were like, oh, can you go grab the alocasia that's over there? I'll be like, I don't know which one is that. Like, I hear you say the
We
words.
know I'm getting better at like recognizing. He's like, oh, that's this, and he's correct. So he's getting there. But that's the difference, I
It's a
think, between
tropical.
like being supportive in one another's interests and having shared obsessions. Yeah.
So I'm gonna loop back to what was it? So repair. What does it look like for you when something breaks or when you have those little disagreements or something goes wrong? Even if it's something very small or large, how do you come back to each other?
Oh, I think communication, it truly is. And our relation, generally speaking, it's going to be if you have something that you want to bring to me, if there's whatever. So, and I think, I know I'm not speaking for her, but she can add to this. It's the getting it out as quickly as possible, not letting it kind of sit for a while.
Huge for me.
It's like,
early
okay,
recognition
early
warning
rec-
system.
It is, and then to fully like we're going back to fully communicate. She feels comfortable now, but I can get a 4-page text of be like, and you read it and and it explains herself. We're just at that point where that's how it's communication it's explaining what it was, how it sounds, so
I
how it
need.
made it feel, and sometimes like you don't necessarily are being like, Joel, here's the way to fix it, but you are kind of laying out like, I think this is what I need from that or whatever. And as a partner, your job is to listen to what they're saying. And I've found that over the 10 years we've been together, you gotta let go. I think a human nature instinct to get your back up and be like, no one likes to be told, hey, like, you know what, you were like at work, you don't want to be told like, yeah, maybe you kind of didn't do this right and you got to improve here. And you naturally feel uncomfortable with that. And I think a lot of partners, their first thing is to like turn defensive and then go offensively back at them without dealing with the issue. So I've found it is, you kind of just, you read it and you're like, that's her, how she's feeling it. You could say I didn't mean that way, or that wasn't my intent, but sometimes it's just like, that makes no difference. What someone is saying is the truth, and you listen to it and come back with a rebuttal on how you're going to repair it, fix it. What is it that you do? But a lot of times you're also like, can I do to make your ability to change that better? Like, you really do need something from me on this. Am I doing something that's making you respond that way? So that's, I'm not speaking for you, but I feel that for us, just with our personalities, I don't necessarily, I think I'm just really easygoing. So I know that she always jokes that one day I'm just going to have this real big blow up, but
He's never.
I don't
he's
really.
never brought anything to me in 10 years. Never.
And it's so late, but I'm just like, oh, perfect woman. Like, I
He's
can't.
never,
I
ever.
Can't.
Like, sometimes I'll be like, can we do 17 stops tonight? And he's like, oh, this night's going to be busy. But that's as far as it. He's like, well, I like spending time with you, so let's get in the car, girl. Like, that's it. And he's never brought me anything. But like, what's he gonna do? Like, I do my part all the time. Like, I'm really type A, and I have a lot of anxiety about that kind of stuff. So if anything, like, I'm 6 steps ahead on everything. I'm the packer. I'm this person. I would be like almost morbidly offended if someone was like, could you make that side of the bed nicer? I'd be like, now I'm getting the clipboard because the door's over there. No, if he really brought something to me, I think it would be more on like an emotional level, or like, hey, I need some time. We've been busy. And I would be like, absolutely. So as far as like, I think sometimes like when men and women, it's like women are like, hey, I need you to pull your share a little more. And men are like, I want more of you, or like, we have a lot of each other already. So I don't know that like how those, like, we feel it when things have been busy. We're like, oh, gosh, it's so busy, and we're like pounding down till our next getaway. Like, we do have those moments where we're like, oof, May is our marathon month. It's so busy for us.
But still, like, I mean, I was actually, hesitant because I knew May is so busy.
May and October are like well, there's nothing we can do about it. Those are just our marathon months. But we've managed to like really put in pockets of time and find joy in those things. And I feel bad because I'm like, you're so kind and you're nice. You never bring anything to me. But it's still valid that if I ask you to please bring the laundry down and it's been 3 days, so you've walked past it 17 times, it's fair for me to say, hey, once I ask you to do something and you say yes, it's off my plate. And so for me to have to go back and now what's on my plate is to ask you, like, that's not fair. And so that's kind of how I put it. I'm like, my plate's very full. I'm at capacity, So when I ask you, I'll be like, hey, could you do this? I'm not writing him a list in the morning, but I'll casually ask. It's like, then it's off my plate. And if it comes back on, then I'm the air traffic controller of the house, and I don't like that. Like, that's not fair. I live here. I don't run it, And so I think we all just need to do our part. But he, like, because I am the air traffic controller, unfortunately, if he was like, hey, could you do this different? I'd be like, I don't know. Then, you're going to have to just do more then. I don't know what to say. If you have a better way to do it, then you take the clipboard and you take over, because it's just kind of our role. But I think that it would be more.
I don't know. I think I need her to manage my life.
It's a lot. I don't add another thing to it.
They're like, you're so organized. I'm like, thank you for this order. It's actually challenging. Like, I have a hard time sometimes. Some days it's like I don't get everything done in a day, but then it feels very heavy. The loop hasn't closed, So yeah, it's tough. So I think that, that's only the things. But honestly, now he's so good because I have explained how that feels. Like when I delegate something, I feel a relief, and then when it's there, and every time I walk past it, I'm feeling resentful. So I also don't let it go 3 days now. Like, I'm not doing that. That's what he was saying about our communication. You can have a small resentment and be like, hey, don't forget, which still isn't my job. But then to let it go for 3 days to the point that I have to write for it, like who am I hurting in that scenario? Only me, only myself, like stop.
Like spend that time.
I know. And to me, then I'm like, that was like the last one that was sort of domestic, where I was just like, honestly. And then there was the thing about the dinner, but that one I really didn't know. I had to reflect. I'm like, what is happening here? But like the laundry, I knew I walked past it for 3 days. I allowed myself to be resentful for 3 days. I'm glad that I did bring it to him instead of doing it myself, which would have been an old thing. And then being mad to be like, hey, this is how that feels. And you're my partner, not my son. I don't think I said it like that. I think I said it nicer.
Yeah.
I think probably planning to get real cranky, and I decided to sit. It was nap time, and I was like, okay, don't take it down and be passive aggressive. Like this is a learning moment.
Take my
for us.
laundry out and just bring yours down.
But yeah, so that I think that the reflection came from my part, and so being able to it's the quickness. As soon as I feel like a little, I'm like, okay, you got to write down your feelings, and I've gotten so much better at recognizing them and just being like, this is what I need. I think there's so much resentment when you're having to bring things every day. It's such a burden to be like tripping over your asks constantly. And I really don't have that. Like, we're pretty supportive of each other. So if there's, if something comes up, I have to just do it really fast. And that would be like something that I recommend to everybody. Like, say it quickly, but then it is like Joel said, on the partner, even if it's uncomfortable to not say, but you didn't do this. You didn't do that. Okay, fair. We can circle back, but we're going to talk about this one thing here first, Yeah, and I think it is, like he said, people's natural space to be like, I don't like that feeling, and you're saying that to me, but what about you?
So
Very guilty.
Like, not for you. I'm just saying it's a shitty feeling around, because then nothing gets accomplished. Nothing gets accomplished,
over and over the same thing.
Yeah, and then everyone's just feeling more frustrated, So I think you have to you almost need like a little paper to be like, this is the one thing, and then you can put your paper.
It sounds like over the 10 plus years, this has been a lot of growth, figuring each other out, how each other ticks, all this stuff. And what's something that you now understand about each other that took a while to understand? And it could be something that at first felt like friction, it was an issue, and now it just feels like, oh, this is just done, if it exists.
I think just getting to realize that when you get into something, you go 100,000,000% into. There's no half-assing anything in a positive way, in big and small. It's like whether you're going to reorganize your closet or pick up a whole new hobby or refinish our kitchen table or plan our summer vacation or decorate our trailer. There's nothing that goes half. And I think initially, meeting, be like, oh, okay, yeah, we're gonna do that, and kind of seeing you go through it, and then you get to realize that this, in a very positive way, I feel so lucky to have a partner that, I'm sure a lot of people have like 10 hobbies that never happened. You've got sports equipment and painting or in like knitting or something that people picked up and never took to, but she does not go half into anything. And so I gotta be ready for, okay, this is a big shift. Like, we're doing something, and and so that's, I think when we first got to, you don't see that right away.
No, I think so.
It takes a little time to build, and I think that it could be, no, it's not friction, but more than like, okay, I guess we're doing this now, or
Better go charge the drill.
yeah, or whatever. But those are things like, stuff about the house. Like, if she was like, hey, I have this vision for our living room now, and this is what I'd like it to look like. I have no, like, to me, I'm like, okay, that sounds fine. I do have a say in them, but
He's like, I can't see what you're saying, so I trust you.
But I'm like, yeah, if you're saying it's going to look better over here in that painting there, then let's do it. I trust you, and we'll take that Saturday afternoon, and we're going to work it all together. So
I'm very efficient, though. I get stuff done. But I can't, it is part of who I am, my mental health conditions, where I have to close the loop. When I have I don't sleep sometimes for several days, because I'm like, thinking about things. So it's not like something that it's a compulsion. It's not something that I'm like just being annoying about, like must do the living room. It's like when something happens and all of a sudden I can't see it a different way. So, and he's really like the more, and that's come also through like my like self-exploration to know that about myself instead of just being like, oh, you're annoying when you think of this. You're just so stubborn about it, to be like, this really is required. So,
What about me?
well, you've done work too. So, but there's still some places where I meet you that like when we first met, Joel, I'm very social, and Joel used to think he didn't like human beings, but it turns out he has social anxiety. So that was tough for me. I think that was friction in our relationship for a while because he wanted, as he shared, to do everything with me. So I was like, okay, but then he would be miserable. So, and I'm like, I like having a good time. I'm like, so you can either fake it till you make it, or you can stay home because that's no fun for me. You can't come and say, oh, I want to go for drinks with you and your girlfriends, and then come and be snarky and be miserable. That's not fair. And it's not his personality. So I'd be like, what are you doing?
Do better.
I'm like, you're just embarrassing me. But like, for what? I didn't get it. Like maybe 6 months in, I was like, listen, you have a thing. Like, and I'm like, you need to talk to our doctor and you need to read a little bit about this. And actually pushed him to be like, oh, okay. And to like really be able to sort of like self-reflect. And so it still exists. Like I'm sensitive to him and what's comfortable for him, but I'm not making myself small to do it, you know? And one of the things that he asked of me, which was fair, is not to surprise him, to tell him things like, don't just have my girlfriend show up at the house where he's not expecting it and he's like not in that frame and he's thinking we have the evening together and, I don't think he knew what it was because in the beginning when I would do stuff where like just be like, oh, I don't know, my friends are coming over, he would be like, well, that's a real time thief. And I'm like, that's not healthy. Like you need to go.
I think
you need to go self-reflect because I'm going to have friends, And it took a little bit of time for him to realize that like he didn't like the open-ended. He didn't like not knowing. He didn't like when it was like 4:00 in the morning and we're all still up. He didn't like not knowing, And I always had like a really, big social reservoir. So that was something where I think we're in a good place where now actually he has a good time doing stuff and he likes to come places.
Not like hosting.
He likes
Yes,
hosting.
no.
He likes, helping. He likes pouring the drinks. He
Oh,
likes
yeah.
driving my planty friends around to do stuff and load everyone's things up. And he's a caretaker, so it gives him a role. It gives him like a thing in the home, and so he has a much, much better time. But that took us a while to.
Yeah,
That was
for
friction,
sure.
and took a bit to figure it out, and then it took a bit to make it work. And then now I actually like really look forward to these things where for a while I would be like, okay, you can come, but behave yourself. Because it would come across, he's actually really kind, but it would come across as like unkind in those situations. When he was uncomfortable, he would say things that I kind of found embarrassing. And I was all like, don't come and not be nice. My friends would be like, what is wrong with your man? But it's just awkward and uncomfortable. So when you're awkward and uncomfortable, you say awkward and uncomfortable things. So he had to, I think that was work that we did together.
Yeah.
For sure. That was definitely a friction, and it still exists. He is who he is. And so like I said, not surprising him with things, being a little bit more communicative.
So you
about
can't
what-
just show up at our house. Like you gotta at least message first.
No, and so just like that, like when I invited you over last time, it was last minute.
Yes.
But before I did, I put my phone down. I went over and I was like, "Hey, like these having a day. We're about to have dinner. I'm thinking about inviting her over for a glass of wine." And he said, "Yeah, sounds great." So it wasn't just like, "Hey, V's on her way." Where he'd be like, "Oh, I don't know how I feel in that moment."
Or the
you know?
doorbell goes and I'm like, who's that? And you're like,
Oh,
yeah.
I also had friends that didn't have those boundaries from before, so they popped in all the time.
Oh, that's different.
One time when we were like pretty new together, like a friend that I was really close with for years, she kind of like showed up with coffee in the morning. We had all the kids there, so it was like we were just laying. We were still kind of like
She
we
came to-
came into our room and jumped in bed and brought us coffee. And he got up and put his shirt on. He was like made a fire, and he was all like, "I'm going." He was like, that was so incredibly uncomfortable. But we had been friends for 10 years. She was just like,
there was
hey,
no
hey,
barrier.
bitch, I'm bringing you a coffee. Like, no.
I'm like, how did you get in that? How did how did you?
He was shook. He was like, what is happening in this crazy house? One man just jumped in my bed in the morning. He got up, threw on a hoodie, went and talked with the kids. So the boundaries of telling my friends, they had to let us know when they were coming over, and they were all like, "Oh, okay." So we had to set some boundaries in our world so that he was comfortable, but also like behave yourself if you're coming out. And then we were able to meet in the middle and actually like keep sharing, like posting, and we've kind of found spaces that work.
It sounds like, in a way, even though you said you don't compromise, you kind of made it work and compromise.
Well, that's being considerate. I don't know if that's a compromise. Like, my girlfriend probably shouldn't show up unannounced and bring coffee and jump in my bed. That's a reasonable boundary, especially in a new relationship, because we had been friends like since we were like teenagers. So he was very uncomfortable. So that's fair. That's not text. No.
It was just, okay, when we're going to do these things, going to communicate a little bit
Just
more about
wanted
the
more
plan.
information,
you know?
which I think is really more being considerate as opposed to like necessarily, because I wasn't going to change. I'm still going to go do what I want or have my friends over. Like, I'm not compromising in that way. Like, oh, I'm not really comfortable with people coming over on weekdays. Oh, okay, I'll compromise that. Like, I'm still doing whatever it is that I want. But he's like, I'm asking for more communication from you, which I think is really just being considerate, because I just didn't really, in my old marriage, my ex-husband loved when my girlfriends would show up because he could just go upstairs and work on his music. So it was never a thing. I'm just like, oh, the girls are coming over. He's like, great, see you later. So it wasn't a thing that I really knew could ever bother anybody, because that was my whole life. So for him saying, I'd really love a text message, makes sense. I think most people appreciate a text message before people show up.
That's fair.
I'm constantly having to like look at my reactions, because I am more highly emotional, and like to have that trust and safety and to trust in the safety.
Our relationship being new was also like we lived together really quickly, but I moved in with her. So there, part of me was like, what could I say to myself was like, hey, be more assertive in. No, okay, no, not assertive in like how it's saying, but in helping out and being like taking control in the house. But it was like I moved into your house, so I'm like, I don't know what to do in this situation. I think what if I could say to somebody, would be like, just you're comfortable, it's your home, and start living like it, as opposed to, I think when I was initially there, I felt like I was like, I'm living in her home.
First night when he had moved in, and we had planned it for a while, and he like finally moved his stuff in, and like he asked if he could go have a shower. And I'm like, it's literally your shower.
No shower.
But he was moving into my house, and my kids were there, so that makes total sense. And I remember like the cooking thing, like he would sit while I cooked, like he didn't, he wasn't in the kitchen or prepping, because I was like, like that was always like kind of my job, and I was like, no, like I cook. And he was like, oh, do you want me to help do that? And I think like at the beginning, I finally said he could chop onions, because I hate chopping onions.
Yeah.
That probably took a year.
Okay.
And then we actually talked about getting you a stool in the kitchen just to sit on.
I'm like, how, like, man, like, yeah.
Literally looking online for the perfect stool for the kitchen for him to just sit on and watch me work.
Because I like to be there with it, but then I'm like, I could be helping.
So now he's just like, well, obviously I'm gonna do this, but but again, that falls back on me. Even the first night, if I was like, can you chop and then you can go have a shower, he would have been like, right. It had to come from like him being like, yeah, like being able to be like, I'm just gonna.
Now I'm a pretty good sous chef.
You actually really are. We work really well in the kitchen.
So for two people who are in a relationship that feels good, what would you say to someone who is in a relationship that feels hard? And what would you want them to know from where you're sitting?
It is. I have a hard time. Like, it's just something.
That's terrible.
It's tough because I do realize that not like no two relationships are the same. No two people know their backgrounds, their experience, and whatever is the same. So if ever I'm giving, I don't even want it to sound like advice. I'd be like, this is what works for us. However you guys want to apply that, do it. But I would never tell them, listen, you gotta start like doing this. And like, I mean, there's generalities. Like if your wife's talking to you, you gotta listen to her. Your husband, like you can't. But there's not the nuances of how couples behave and work. It's hard to apply that to, because sometimes I'm just like, we're just a really good
Sounds terrible.
It
so
sounds
that's
like
why we hate people are like, asking
questions about
it
it and
stuff.
stuff.
I was happy, but I'm just like, I don't know, because we like each other and we're happy. Like we're not doing anything.
Or also, like, and Blair said it, Lucky, we blessed. I hate using that word, like whatever. But we both have jobs. We have a nice home. Our kids are for the most part doing well. We
Privileged.
have no
Yeah.
outside stressors that come in and play in a relationship. Like not, we have a good couple of ours. Like the husband lost his job, and it's a big stress. Like you can, no matter how strong your relation, like you bring into that kind of stress, and so you know we've dealt with some things. So you always have things that come up, surprises near there, but like
We can say that too. Like, and I'll be like, we haven't actually had to deal with anything super hard, but like, if we have, you know how like travel days can be really stressful. Couples can just like it's not good.
They say if you want to know someone, travel with them.
yeah, share a
Real.
hotel.
You know, we've had stuff happen and we just can really laugh about things together. And then even this last year, like I don't have cancer or anything like that. Really grateful for my health, but I have had this like ongoing airway thing. So I've been sick almost continuously. Like actually this is wood. But this last month has been really good, but I've just been sick for so long. And you know, I'll just be able to like just I'm like I'm not on death's door, but it feels like it. Barely functioning, but I'm like I'm still so utterly grateful in my life. But I also know it's because we have benefits. I can afford my medications because I have a healthy life, because I have a job where I work at home. There's a lot to be grateful for that supports being
But-
able to still be good.
It again is cliche, I still think, but you have to be able to communicate in the way that we were saying, where you have to listen to the words that your partner is saying with almost, it doesn't matter how it makes you feel. You got to listen to them and believe what they're saying is real. You can't.
Just follow through too, though.
And
I know.
that's the first thing. But if you can at least get to hear your partner, the whole like saying, sometimes you can't have a face-to-face conversation because you just both go off on different things. And the main issue could have been like, hey, you put the dish thing in wrong, but then by the end you're fighting about something someone said 2 years ago that didn't get resolved and all that. So I really think from a couple perspective, you can communicate in a way that works for you, where each person feels heard and believed and like respected what they're saying and not like just fluffed off, I think is a good start for any couple to use as a foundation.
I
Like
think what B said too, though, was like it's great to listen and not yap at someone, but if the follow through isn't there,
that's the second step.
then then it comes back to like when couples are struggling is like, do you want to follow through? Is it there? Because that's kind of what we see is by the time that like, and we have quite a few couple friends, and we've been together for 10 years and I'm 4 years older than him. So, and like we've got kids that have had relationships, rainbows of relationships from all different points of life. And it's like by the time we're hearing about the cracks, a lot of the willpower or the want to do the work isn't there. It's already, there's damage that's been done. It's really hard to do damage repair. It's much easier to stay in like, hey, how
Preventative maintenance.
no, how do we keep this about us? How do we keep this fresh? How do we always make each other first? What is our space to listen to one another? And if you're ahead of it, it's because you want to, because the desire is there.
And we've discussed this before, how much easier it is to maintain than to repair.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the
That's
fun part.
everything.
Once there's things that are broken, it's really hard to go back and unfeel those things and to let go of those negative feelings. It's so much easier. But again, like, because we wake up every day excited to have coffee together, we're spending that day building on taking care of one another. Where I think sometimes you're seeing division and then come the hurt feelings, and then how do you come back from that? I don't know. People, they do it. They do it, but you can stay in a relationship that's safe and not necessarily be happy. I think it's hard to forget slights, where it's just easier to think each day, like, I want to treat my partner the way I want to be treated. I think they're the bee's knees. I want to make them happy. And if you don't have that true innate desire, I don't know.
Not gonna work.
It's just my opinion. I mean, I guess people can. They can build things that I don't understand the instructions to.
I want to circle back to what you said about gratitude, though, because we've had an episode about gratitude. I think it's like a really important part of just like living a happy, healthy life.
It is, yeah.
I think, like you said, because you're super lucky, but I think, like, in most cases, I'm not going to say every, but in most cases, there are things we can find to be grateful for. And the more of those things we find, usually the more we end up building.
It's True. And I knew that we were probably going to talk about this, and it's kind of a subject like feeling really grateful in my life is like I have this little twinge from something that I remember from therapy. Because I remember I was kind of going through a tough time. I was like struggling with some Blair stuff, and I was like, I feel so bad on these days because I have so much to be grateful for. And I'm like, my kids are healthy, and my home is beautiful, and I have a great job, and I've got this great guy, and like everything in my life is really, really good. And yet this is what I'm feeling. He's like, you are not allowed to do that in this session. You can have a fabulous life and still be having a shit day. Like, and you don't have to be like, oh, I feel guilty for these feelings because I should be so grateful. And so I'm careful to be like, like what I was sharing before, like how I haven't been well, right? Like, so yes, I have so much to be grateful for, but I'm also going to sit on the bed and have a good cry. Like, I'm also going to feel really shitty because this sucks. I haven't slept in 3 days. I'm sick. I'm on 8 kinds of medication. And you know what? That sucks. Apart from our financial security, apart from my ability to access my medications, apart from, having a really supportive family, and like, that's great. And I'm so blessed to have that. It still really sucks. And so being able to separate those two things too and not feel guilty for kind of just having a day where you're like, I have all this, but I'm still allowed to feel like this. And so that was something that I really took from her being like, don't do that, because everyone will say that to you, people who are depressed or they're having a hard time, they're like, you have so much to be grateful for. You can't take away. Also, like, yes, it's important to look for your glimmers. It's important to look for gratitude, but it's also okay to not be focused on those things right now and just feel.
Oh my God, there's one thing that you're constantly telling me, and it's like two things feeling.
Yes,
You're
exactly.
always telling me.
I know, because it is absolutely like, it is the truth in
very
life.
true.
It's the
Yeah.
truth. Right. So it's like, but I think that I would just feel this like twinge of guilt, or feeling sorry for myself about something, because there's always someone who's going to be going through something worse, and there's always going to be someone who's got it way easier than I do. And it doesn't make my feelings any less valid,
You can be super grateful for everything you have and still feel sorry for yourself at the exact same time.
But we'll have these days, like, especially like if I've gone into like a bit of a spiral because I've been sick for like a week or 2 or 3. We'll be sitting on the couch and I'm like, these moments are really like defined when I can be having such a hard time, and I can just sit here and be like, I'm really, really grateful that I'm here in this space.
But that's true
co-regulation.
gratitude, though.
It is,
Like, that's true. That's not.
I'm not
someone
looking
telling
for that.
you.
And I think I say too, like, I think that a lot of relationships see the cracks in some of the real definitions when things are challenging, where I see us connect more when things are challenging. We lean into each other more when one of us is sick or when things are hard, And so I think
It's real teamwork.
yeah, it is. And I think like, especially like it can be, I'm so gross. I don't even know how you make out. It's like chunk off in my mouth. It's like, I'm so glad that he sleeps, because like I woke off the entire night and I'm all like, I feel like guilty that I'm keeping my husband up. He's like, I feel great. I slept all night. So
Wow, amazing conversation. I think this really shows us what a happy relationship could look like.
Yeah,
in many different
you
ways.
said, it's not every relationship don't fit a mold.
No, but
I
it's
wish we would write a book. We'd be millionaires. Everybody would be happy.
Yeah, there is
I
no
still think you
general.
could write a book and like just preface it with this is what worked for us because
Yeah.
people do love to see happiness.
Yeah, I think we have this pause where you don't want things to seem like unauthentic or fake, right? Like, because there's so much fake booking. There's so much like, oh my God, we're so happy. Where we're kind of like, yeah, like we're happy, but we like to do we just invest in each other.
We just be open with it. We have our friends come over at any time. Well, not at any time, but and yes, I think we put people get to see the real who we are, and like they don't live with us for a week or whatever. But I think just us being genuine.
So I guess before we close, we wanted to give everyone a little bit of homework. So think of a relationship in your life right now. It doesn't have to be romantic. It could be a friendship. It could be a family relationship. Maybe something that you wouldn't describe necessarily as perfect, but just something good. What is it in that relationship that makes you feel a type of way? That makes you feel good? That makes you feel happy? And where do you feel that in your body? Take care of that and see where this brings you, because you never know what those kinds of feelings can bring up if you listen to your body and all the signals that it's telling. So just let it sit with you and take that as homework. Yeah, so just to close out, Blair, Joel, thank you so much for sitting with us and having this wonderful conversation.
I wasn't sure what to expect, and Blair said that we got the invite, but yeah, we're glad to
I just
contribute.
kind of told him we were doing
No,
it.
Your voluntoys.
it wasn't lots of notice. I
There
did.
isn't anything that we really couldn't do with or for our friends. So it was kind of a no-brainer.
So to everyone listening, we'll be back next week with Blair and Joel again, and we're going deeper. We're going to talk about the invisible work, the things underneath a relationship that look good from the outside, the things that people don't always see.
So thank you, and we'll see you next week.